Welcome to the 2023 Pittsburgh Regional Transit Bus Rodeo. I'm your host, Jeremy, with Ray.
I'm Ray. I'm an East Liberty instructor. I competed in the 2019 Bus Roadeo, which is the last one we had, and I got third place when I was still a driver.
Once again, we have the distinct pleasure of watching our operators use the talent and skills they've honed while on the job to compete for the opportunity to represent PRT against the best in North America next year at the international competition. So first up, this is Jamond Jones, who's been with PRT for 6 years, and he has a previous first place win under his belt. This is the first lap of the competition, the Serpentine.
Each of these skills are considered laps for this competition. Like we said, the first one is the Serpentine. You go tight around the corners. Not only is he looking forward to see where he's going, but on this track, you're mostly in your mirrors looking to see where your back tire is because you use that for your pivot point, especially around this first cone here in the middle. That's worth more points than any of the other ones for this skill.
Now, I think the Serpentine is one of the more difficult laps of the course. Do you agree?
It comes up on you quick. It looks easy on paper, but then you get out there, and all those cones are a lot closer than they look here on the screen.
Yeah, that's definitely one thing I was thinking about is how on video it looks, the cones maybe don't look as close together as they are in real life.
And when you're on the course, these obstacles are right after each other, so not only do you have to complete the obstacle, you have to set yourself up for the next one as you're going along. It's all about setting up your turns while on the road or on this course.
And then here he's moved on to the second lap, which is the offset street. Lap 2 requires the operator to drive through the separate narrow lanes and offset one full lane's width from each other.
It's a good simulation of driving the bus in Mount Washington, I'll tell you that.
Now, one thing I've wondered, and maybe you can tell me, when an operator hits a cone and it doesn't fall over, is that deduction the same, or does it not matter if it fell over or not?
I believe it does have to fall over for it to count. If you brush up against it, I'd have to...
It might not be a deduction.
Might not be, yeah.
And it looks like he's cleared the tennis balls there. It's a little hard to see from this vantage point, but I didn't see any rolling away.
No, and they will. They're just sitting on the ground on little cups, so if you bump them in any way, they will roll. Now he's setting up for his right-hand turn. This is a true real-world situation here, making that sharp right, giving yourself enough room as you can make for yourself when turning these buses. They're 40 feet in length.
So coming out of that right turn is the first customer stop.
Yep, the judges are going to be on the sidelines as well as in the bus, and the ones on the sidelines are going to measure how far away his tire is from the curb for the maximum amount of points without hitting it. They'll measure the front tire and the rear tire.
Yeah, I see that it says the front tire of the bus must be 6 inches or less from the curb, while the rear tires are 15 inches or less.
Yeah, while they're in training, we teach the students about curb stops, 6 inches or 6 feet if there's a parked car there.
Oh, interesting.
That's the general rule, 6 feet or 6 inches.
So after the measurements are taken, he's able to move on to the next lap, which will be the left-hand reverse.
It's otherwise known as an alley dock. Used to be a CDL skill requirement for the obstacle course for your test.
I feel like he's lined up pretty well there.
Yeah, like I said earlier about setting up your turns, it's all in the setup. The bus only turns so sharp, so you want to get yourself lined up at the right angle before you even attempt to back it in there.
And once he's cleared that one cone there in the corner, he's probably good to go.
Yeah, he'll be in his mirrors the whole time, making sure he's centered in that alley dock. He'll probably have a kind of not a cheat spot, but a spot he'll know where to stop before his back bumper hits that last cone versus where he's at with those front cones.
I was wondering how he knows when to stop, because he does have to be within 36 inches of the rear cone.
He does, yes, and without hitting it, because that cone is worth more points. and there are no backup cameras on the bus, so it's all about judgment.
Next up is one of the most difficult laps of the course, and that's the left turn.
I think the left turn would be the easy one, but coming out of that alley, Doc, it sneaks up on you quick, and that left turn is sharp. You got to set yourself just right.
The operator is required to swing the bus a 90-degree turn and not touch any of the cones, outlining the problem even though he or she will lose sight of some of the cones.
Yeah, these buses have some blind spots to them. Looks like he caught that pivot cone on there. Didn't give himself quite enough room on that left side.
And he's headed for the next lap, which is his second customer stop.
He'll be coming at it this time from a different angle. That's why it counts as a second obstacle, even though it seems very similar. It's all about the setup.
I hadn't even really thought about it that way. So earlier he made a right turn into the customer stop, and now it's a left turn into it.
This one looks like it might be slightly easier coming in from that side. It's more simulation of a stop coming onto like a, we always turn right. Oh, we always turn into the right lane while we're driving the bus on the road, because all our stops are on the right.
So they're getting the measurements.
Yeah, measuring his front tires and rear tires versus that curb again, of course, without hitting it. Always avoid hitting the curb.
And now he's moving on to lap 9, which is the right-hand reverse. Lap 9 is designed to simulate a bus turnaround, requiring a bus to back up to the right. It measures an operator's skill, accuracy, and safety consciousness while backing up. And again, like the left-hand reverse, the bus must stop within 36 inches of the rear cone, I guess, for the full 50 points.
Yeah, same rules apply to this obstacle, coming in from a different side. Now, it's harder to see out the right side of the bus because it's obviously further away from the driver. So he's got to set himself up before he even starts to back in there so he can make sure he's going to be centered in that alley dog.
And we can see here he looks clear on the right side, but we can't tell from that vantage point over the other side of the bus.
Looks like he's checking himself there. He might have got close on his right side. That is the harder side to see. He didn't hit any cones, I don't believe, so he won't lose points, but that pull-up might ding him one. Looks like pretty good judgment with that rearmost cone, which is worth the most amount of points if he hits it, which he did not. Good job.
Coming out of the right-hand reverse is the diminishing clearance, so this is lap 10. It analyzes an operator's ability to judge position and speed of a bus. The operator is required to drive through a narrowing V-shaped channel outlined with barrels while maintaining a minimum speed of 20 miles per hour.
Yeah, they'll have the speed camera set up there with a sign like the police use so they can see how fast he's going. And those barrels, there's like 1 inch of clearance on either side of the bus at that last narrowest one.
So the volunteers are going to measure the distance to that cone, and the onboard judges are going to exit the bus.
Yeah, after that diminishing clearance, you go right into that judgment stop from 20 miles an hour down to 0, as close as you can to that cone without hitting it. One solid braking motion right up to that cone.
And Jamond has finished his run.
He knows he did well. I didn't see many cones taken down in his run.
Tell us, Jamond, were you nervous? Were you excited?
I think the nerves from doing it last time went away, but I also, I was just anxious to just get it over.
How did you feel when you got done with the course?
I felt like I did pretty good. I actually did better in areas that I messed up in practice.
What would you say to operators who may want to compete in the future?
Something fun to do. Show, like I said, show off your skills. Maybe you can show you the best driver in Pittsburgh. Who knows?
All right, great job, Jamond. And next up, our second operator to compete is Frank Barber, and this is his first ever rodeo.
Okay, yeah, he's just off the line heading towards that serpentine. You are allowed to adjust your mirrors differently for this course than you would use them on the road, just because these obstacles are so tight. Oh, looks like we got a casualty first right off the bat, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I was wondering if each cone is worth the same amount, do you think?
No, the pivot cones are worth more, just like the ones that are in the rear of the alley dock and on the extreme corners of the left turn and the right turn. The ones you're most likely to hit with your rear tires are worth more points.
Yeah, it would make sense that certain cones are more important than others.
These other cones are worth points, but not as many as those important ones. He's setting himself up for this offset street.
And we get a nice shot from the drone as he does that.
Yeah, slipping right through there. As long as he misses that.
And now choosing his line to enter the tennis balls.
Yeah, the rear duals clearance. That was a tough one because it's the right rear tire. You can judge the left rear easier, I would think, but that right rear you can't even really feel for it.
Looks like he cleared the right-hand turn.
Yeah, that was a nice right-hand turn. He slipped right through there. You always drive the bus like your grandmother's riding it, or if you have a dozen eggs in your lap, you don't want those eggs to fall. Coming up on his first curb stop. It's good. See good use of his turn signal there, pulling into the stop.
So as Frank stops here, what is the... I saw something about an ADA call-out. What does that mean?
That is a pretend stop in town. So they'll tell him what street and cross street he's at, and it's the bus driver's job to announce that himself. If the automatic caller inside the bus, the announcement is not working, it's the driver's job to announce the ADA stops along the route.
I see. So he's announcing the name of the stop, like the cross section.
Yes, I believe they use 6 in Smithville for the example in the rodeo. So as he pulls into that stop, he'll have to announce that he's at 6 in Smithfield.
I see.
To help ADA passengers know where they're at.
He's moved on to the left-hand reverse, and he seemed pretty clear so far.
Yeah, he's got plenty of room on his left side. If he can square it up and back straight in without hitting that rear cone, he'll be setting himself up for a good score on this obstacle.
Looking good.
Yep, no cones taken down. On the way in. Oop, he's getting a little close on his right side there. The steering wheels in the bus are asymmetrical, so you can't really tell if your wheels are centered like in your own car. You just have to do it by vision in your mirrors and the way the bus feels like it's going. You can't just visually center your steering wheel.
That's interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that.
It's just a 3-spoke wheel with a round Horton button in the middle. There's no way to really tell if the wheel's centered or not.
They've got the measurement and gave him the signal. He's free to pull out and head toward the next lap, which is the left turn.
Yep, he's negotiating his way out of that alley dock. At the same time, he'll have to set himself up for this left turn, which you can see he's doing now, taking a wide angle. Trying to give himself as much room on that left side as he can.
And from that viewpoint, you can really see how narrow that gap really is between those two cones for that bus to come through.
It's just wide enough to fit a bus through, that's right.
And these ones come up on you so fast.
They do. Yeah, that pivot cone is what you think you're worried about. Then you got to really watch your right front corner on this straight line of cones here. Looks like he's correcting himself a little bit so he doesn't take one of those out.
It almost seems like it would be a magic trick just to actually get it through without hitting any of the cones. Like it almost feels like it wouldn't fit.
Even with a practice day, a week or two before, or a week or a day before, every time you're out there, it looks a little different.
Now that he's made it through that lap, he's headed for the next service stop, the left-hand turn into the service stop.
Yeah, he can get a better, clearer view of where he's going to aim the bus this time, coming from this different direction. He still has to set himself up quickly, though. We don't want to hit those cones or the curb. And again, they'll measure his front tire and his rear tire for the score on this obstacle. Looks like he's sliding it in there nicely. And I'm sure as he's opening the door, he'll announce his ADA stop.
Now, we've talked about the road course today only being a part of what's evaluated to find the overall winner. And one of the other segments of the evaluation is a uniform check. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, just as before even the pre-trips get started, the judges there on the sidelines going over your uniform, making sure they're clean, pressed, the shoes are shined, you look the part, you dress for the job that you want, not the job that you have. So your uniform has to be perfect, including your reflective vest, shirt tucked in, the whole 9 yards.
And it all adds up to test the operator overall.
Yeah, it's a good overall view of his attitude towards this competition and his job in general. He's representing our company when he's out there driving the bus on the streets.
It would show that they care about themselves and the company and the public if they look the part.
Yeah, you look the part and you look like you're ready to go. The people might even feel safer riding on the bus. They'll be more at ease. Right on his way into that second alley dock. This is the more challenging one because it's coming from the right side this time, which is your blind side. He's got to get as close to that rear cone as possible without hitting it.
And to judge that he's within 36 inches, you said he's able to look at cones near the front of the bus?
That's why it's a good idea to come to the practice day for this, because you can judge yourself where to stop with your rear by looking at the cones near your front. If you remember where that cone is and you stop there, then you won't hit that one behind you. Okay, gearing up for the diminishing clearance between the barrels. This is always a fun one. Ooh, we got that last one, and now here's your judgment stop. With the front of your bus, one solid stop, and then that's it.
The judges come in to measure the distance, and the onboard judges exit the bus. And here's Frank.
Here's Frank. Hopefully they had a nice smooth ride with Frank driving.
You could tell he had fun.
Never forget your first one.
Great job, Frank. This being your first time, tell us, were you nervous?
Well, no, not at first, because I've been driving trucks for 15 years and driving buses for 23 years. So when I came down here, I seen these little cones. I said, I can make that, no problem. I'm very humble.
So tell us about the course. Which laps were challenging?
Well, the serpentine is very difficult because they don't give you enough room, but honestly, they do. You just got to maneuver through it. And you got to come out of a turn, and then you got to go through the tennis balls, but you got to be on a certain angle so you won't hit none. That's very difficult. I think the only thing that I did pretty well was making a right-hand turn.
After doing it, what are you feeling? Would you do it again?
Oh, yes. I'll be back next year. Lord willing, I'll be back next year. I'm enjoying myself right now.
What would you say to operators who are thinking about competing for the first time next year?
You got to try for yourself. Don't believe what nobody else tells you. Try for yourself, and you'll see.
All right. Thank you, Frank. And our next operator competing is Nigel Avery. He's been with PRT for 5 years, and this is his first time competing in the rodeo.
Well, good luck to Nigel in his first rodeo. Yeah, with 5 years under his belt behind the wheel, there is a minimum time of employment of 3 years to be able to even compete in the bus rodeo.
Oh, that makes sense. I hadn't thought of that. So no rookies.
No extreme rookies, no. You do see a lot out there every day that gives you a lot of practice for this on the real streets of Pittsburgh. We are the double black diamond of driving. That's why they test all those self-driving cars in our city.
So he's taking it pretty easy there.
Yeah, a little bit of a bump, but no harm, no foul. Just wanting to straighten himself out, get ready for that next obstacle, that offset street. after coming out of that serpentine. He's going to aim himself to the left so he can sneak through there straight and get himself up for that next offset street. Everything in the bus is exaggerated when you're making these turns. Like I've been saying all along, it's all about the setup. If you set yourself up right, you'll make it every time.
And coming out of the offset street, he's headed into the tennis balls.
Oh yes. Good old rear duals clearance. They actually removed the mud flap from the vehicle because that could potentially hit the tennis balls inadvertently. So we have to judge on just the rear dual clearance only through this obstacle.
And it looks like he cleared it.
Yep, no rolling balls. Good to see someone get through there cleanly. Now everyone's favorite, the right-hand turn.
Is it everyone's favorite because it's one of the easier laps in the course?
I was kind of being sarcastic with that one.
So it's maybe not the easiest? Okay. It does seem like most operators make it through that one, though.
Especially Najee, he drives at Ross Garage. That turn from Liberty on to 7th, I'm sure he makes every day. If a car is pulled up past that hold line on 7th, he's used to making that tight right-hand turn.
And on to lap 5, Nigel's first customer stop.
Yeah, he's got his 4-ways on. That's good practice for doing your curb stops there. Now they're going to measure his front tires and rear tires from the curb. Doesn't look like he hit the curb, which is good. He's leaving himself enough room to pull back out to set himself up for that next obstacle after they're done measuring him here.
And just a reminder, they're looking for it to be within 6 inches for the front tire and within 15 inches for the rear tire.
Yeah, ideally you want to float that front door right over the curb so you can get the people a firm step as soon as they exit the bus when they're alighting.
Coming out of that first stop, next up is the left-hand reverse.
It's like he's angling himself up for a good setup to back run in there. These alley docks are challenging because they're not only a narrow lane, but you can't see what's going on behind you until it might be too late.
For these operators who this is their first time competing, they may have gotten to practice the day before or in the days leading up to the competition, but outside of that, is there any comparison to something like this from training as an operator, or is would this course be totally different?
The course is much more challenging than the training, in my opinion. This, like I said earlier, the reverse alley docks that we're seeing now used to be part of the CDL test, but in recent years they've eliminated that from the CDL test. But this used to be everyday Port Authority business here on this obstacle such as this.
So there are aspects of training where there would be literally just cones in a parking lot, and they have to prove a specific skill.
Exactly, yes, and they're graded to get their license to drive these vehicles on very similar skills sometimes.
Of course, it was many years ago when I got my driver's license and my motorcycle license as well. And so I guess my frame of reference, not being an operator, would be what it was like to perform the test, required to get the motorcycle license.
I would imagine it'd be very similar. Different set of skills than operating a car, a four-wheel car, or even a truck on the road. The last class I had, one of my students, we asked her, what's the biggest vehicle you've ever driven? She says, a Tahoe. A little bit smaller than a bus. Najee's here, setting himself up for this left-hand turn. These onboard judges are looking to see that he's using his turn signals. So we can see that left blinker on. That's a good sign. I was trying to avoid hitting that pivot cone that's worth all those points.
This is definitely a tough one.
Yeah, that left turn comes up on you quick, and it is sharp. right after that alley, Doc. You're just at a bad angle coming out of there for that left turn.
So making it out of that lap, next up is the customer stop, the bus stop.
Yeah, the next curb stop, we call it.
Curb stop.
And, of course, when he's in there, we can't hear it, but he's announcing his ADA stops to the onboard judges to let ADA passengers know where they're at in the world. Yeah, he's got his 4-ways on for that curb stop.
We were talking previously about some of the different aspects of the test outside of the actual road course here today. And in addition to the uniform check, one of the things they're being tested on is the written test. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, a couple weeks before the rodeos even to begin, to even be allowed to participate in the rodeo, you have to get a certain score on the written test. I believe it's 50 questions.
Oh.
About general PRT knowledge, traffic laws, our terminology, rocking and rolling in the seat so you can avoid as many blind spots as possible. I know that was the answer to one of the questions from a few years ago.
So the score on the written test just isn't part of the accumulative score, but it actually helps determine who's allowed to participate in the road course.
Yep, years of service and the score on the written test will determine whether you're allowed to participate in the rodeo or not.
Awesome. So it is possible with these other aspects of the overall rodeo that the person who maybe performed the best in the road course isn't necessarily going to be the overall winner.
There's a lot of variables out there for all these competitors today. One cone might matter. One question on the test might matter. A speck of dirt on your uniform might matter. You never know until it's all over and they count it all up.
If the difference between the first and second is just 5 or 10 points, and one lap in the course is only worth 50, so one obstacle could determine the winner.
Yeah, that's the way it went in 2019. One tennis ball was the difference between first and second place. That's all it took.
So, and which side of that were you on?
I didn't see it go down. I got in the third place out of that one. I wasn't even a top rate yet, though, as an operator.
I would have to say I think third is still pretty good.
I'll take third. That's a podium finish. Now that I'm a supervisor, I can't compete anymore, but it is still fun to watch.
And they don't let public relations employees compete in the rodeo either.
I believe it's for operators only, yes.
So he's got the all clear to go ahead and move on to the next lap here.
Yeah, Judge scored his reverse next to that cone. He's on to one of the final obstacles on his lap.
He's headed into the diminishing clearance, lap 10 of the course.
Yeah, finalizing his run here, up to 20 miles an hour through the barrels. See how he does coming through here. And then that judgment stop. One final stop. We'll measure how far he is.
Yep, he needs to be within 6 inches of that cone for the full 50 points.
That's pretty close, especially when you can't really see exactly where your front bumper is or that bike rack.
Great job, Naja. So tell us, this was your first time. How do you feel like it went?
I feel pretty good. It was a nice event. It's tougher than it looks, but it's nice to get out here and showcase the skills. The 90 degree was pretty tough. That's definitely one was tough. I think it's pretty challenging. It's a 90 degree turn.
When you first heard they were going to do it this year, did you know immediately you were going to do it, or did it take a little convincing?
I knew immediately I wanted to do it, right away. As soon as I heard it was back up and running, I was all for it.
What really made you want to do it?
It was to bring the camaraderie back and showcase my talents and skills. Get out here with fellow other operators and see what we could do.
Alrighty, thank you, Naja. Great job. Next up is Michael Gerken, who's been with PRT for 23 years, and strangely, this is his first rodeo.
Wow, good for him. Finally competing in one. These are a lot of fun. Maybe he's too busy making that overtime to worry about what he's going to do on a Sunday when he's not working.
And here he is navigating the first lap, the Serpentine.
Maintaining some good speed through there.
plenty of clearance on that cone.
A lot of room, yeah. He seems very confident so far. We want our operators to be confident but not cocky when they're on the road, or on this course for that matter.
We'll see how well he has himself set up here to make it through these cones.
That was a good job straightening out there. You kind of got to tell by the world outside your window if your bus is straight.
Looking good from here.
He's going to go in at a kind of an angle to set himself up for this one and the next one, which supersedes it fairly quickly. These two parallel or semi-parallel offset streets. There he goes, exaggerating it to get his right rear squared up with that near cone on the right side.
It looks like it's a little tight. Let's see if he makes it through.
I have a little bit of wiggle room on that left side to play with. If he can stop there and cut it to the right some, which he just did. Yep, made it through there cleanly.
Awesome. And headed into the tennis balls.
Yeah, the rear duals clearance. Let's see if any balls go rolling. Very hard to judge because you can only see those outside tennis balls in your mirror. You got to guess where those inside ones are.
It looks like he made it. He's doing pretty good so far.
He really is. Looks like he's going to give himself plenty of room on his right to make this right-hand turn too. Speeding through the course, on to the next obstacle, which is his first curb stop of the day.
While he does this curb stop, let me ask you a little bit about the overall rodeo again. Another aspect is the pre-trip inspection. Can you talk a little bit about that for us?
Oh, sure, yeah. The judges are looking for certain things that they have bugged on the buses that you are to find, that you would not drive the bus if that was in fact defective in your daily job, such as burned out lights. There's a suspicious package in the rear of the bus.
Oh.
Checking to see if the fuel cap's tight, the whole 9 yards with your pre-trip inspection, just like you did for your CDL.
And they have to find all 20 defects to get the full points.
That is correct. There are 20 defects that they put in the bus, whether it be a loose lug nut or a burned out light, broken mirror, anything.
And does someone repair these 20 defects before the bus goes back on the road?
I do believe, yeah. Maintenance guys will have it squared away before. These are brand new buses that we're using too, so they got to put them back in order. Hey, nice job coming out of that left alley, Doc. Trying to set up for that left-hand turn. Exaggerated himself past that. Wow, that's tight. Look at him go.
He might have got that inside cone.
It might have weebled, but it didn't fall down. Trying to set himself up for that second curb stop. He's going to have a good time.
Yeah, he definitely is going quick.
He seems, should be traveling a little faster than the other competitors we've seen thus far.
And they only have to be within 7 minutes, right, to avoid a deduction.
That's correct. It doesn't sound long, but when you're taking your time around these obstacles, it does add up on you.
So anything under 7 minutes, not really a bonus, but anything over 7 minutes, then it's a deduction.
A penalty, yes.
Yeah.
He's using his four ways like he's supposed to at a curb stop. And out now is the second alley, Doc. Like a good angle of approach to get himself squared up, back straight in there. In your right mirror first, and then now you're worried about your left mirror. It's like you might have clobbered one there.
Gonna pull forward and Take another angle at it.
It's better to get one of those ones that aren't worth many points there at the beginning of the obstacle than the one at the end, that's for sure.
That's a good point.
Especially with those left-hand turns and right-hand turns. You don't want to hit that pivot cone, but any of those other ones in a straight line, they're worth less points. So if you're going to hit one of those.
And even if you do, you definitely want to make sure that you are within 36 inches of that rear cone without hitting it.
Oh, certainly, yes. That one's worth the most points in that obstacle. Here comes his diminishing clearance.
And the last judgment stop.
Yeah, he's clean through the barrels. Looks relatively close to that cone.
And with the judgment stop, and he needs to be within 6 inches of the cone, it's not the bumper, though, because of the bike rack?
Yeah, we go by the frontmost part of the vehicle, just like in a CDL test situation. The frontmost part of the vehicle is the bike rack.
How do you feel like it went?
I think I did pretty good. I'm happy with what I did. We practiced yesterday, and at first I wasn't so confident, but I think I did well.
Would you walk us through the course a little bit?
Well, I mean, the serpentine is a little deceiving. You think you can make it, but you got to take a wide and around. The offset left, that's extremely tight. I mean, it's very hard not to hit a cone there. Going through the tennis balls was the worst one I was worried about. Getting yourself lined up is the key. Then the right turn, that's just a regular right turn. Service stop is we do every day. Backing in the left and the rights, they were left back is easier than the right. But I back up the boat and trailer all the time, so that's not really a problem for me. And then the hard left turn, that's a hard left turn. Now, I ended up hitting the cone, but that's a hard left turn. And then the barrels at the end, going 20, I was very confident in that.
Tell us how it feels for you to be here with the rest of the operators and the staff and to be able to do this together.
Oh, it's a good time. I mean, it's a time you actually get to do something with the bus where you can have fun. You can just have fun, laugh with the people. Yeah, it's a great time.
All right, great job, and thank you, Michael Gerken. Next up is Jeff Rectenwald from the Collier Garage. He's been with PRT for 8 years, but I believe this is his first rodeo.
Well, good for him for giving it a whirl. Let's see how he does today. This is a challenging course as we've seen thus far.
And he's navigating our first lap, which is the Serpentine. As Jeff makes his way through the first lap here, the Serpentine, what is he looking out for?
He's going to be making sure his right rear tire is going to clear that last cone. He's got to get his front through there. It looks like he's having a little bit of trouble with that. Getting straightened back out. When you're down driving that course, those cones are a lot closer together than they look on camera. If you notice the way these vehicles turn, because the front wheels are behind you, they operate a lot differently than any other vehicle on the road.
I hadn't thought of that either.
One thing we teach our students, I think it's one of the weirdest things for them to get used to, is that the front wheels are behind you. Because in a rear-world situation, you can float the curb with that front of your bus and still make it around the bend.
Coming out of the offset street, he's headed into that rear dual clearance. So this is the tennis balls coming up here.
Again, very hard obstacle to judge because you can only see those outside tennis balls in your mirror. So much of this course is done with your mirrors.
And even then, you won't see them until you're on them, essentially.
Yeah, there's a blind spot between the doors pretty much. So when they disappear from your natural vision until they appear in your mirror vision, there's a gap.
It looks like he's made it through.
I was pretending that I was a chauffeur out there. I love driving the bus a lot, and I'm hauling people, not cargo. So as comfortable as I can, as courteous as I can.
In your 40-foot limo.
Yes, my 40-foot limo. Sometimes 60 feet. Now he's going to be setting himself up for this first curb stop.
One of the exciting things about the competition today is the winner of our PRT rodeo will be going to Portland next spring to compete in the International Rodeo.
That should be a good trip across the country. Hopefully they have some nice weather out there in Portland.
And this is also the first international rodeo since 2019. So they haven't done it internationally for a few years or at PRT.
That's correct. We were going to have one in 2020 at PRT at the very least, but then COVID happened.
Right.
So everything got put on hold.
Yep. And here we are just a few years later kind of getting back into it.
Looks like Jeff is getting back into this alley dock. He's going to be in his left rear mirror. You cannot see that right rear of your corner of your bus where that kickout is.
Yep.
It's very difficult to judge. It's all about the setup with your left side. And your right side will follow you.
And if he stops and moves forward, he can try to reduce the number of cones that he hits there, which will reduce the point deduction.
That's true. Yeah, those ones at the entrance aren't worth as much as that one at the back.
Right.
So if you're going to hit one, you might as well hit one of lesser point value. Obstacle judge doing her job, telling him to move on to the next obstacle.
And coming up will be lap 7, which is the left turn.
You really got to take it wide coming out of that alley dock to set yourself up for this one. Using your rear tire as a pivot point. See how sharp you can cut this bus. Oh.
Man, that's got to be tough.
It is tougher than it looks.
It did not look like he could have been any closer to the inside cone there.
It looked like a good setup from our vantage point. There's not enough cut to that wheel.
Maybe a 39-foot bus.
That should have worked in that situation for sure.
And coming out of there, he's headed into his next curb stop, so the left-hand turn into the curb stop.
Yeah, and this one's a kind of a fun one to judge because those steering wheels are behind you. You can actually float the curb with the door opening of your bus and use that as a step for people to get out of when they exit your vehicle. So that's why we look to see how close he is. You can get right on top of that thing if you set it up just right.
And you were saying because the axle is behind you.
Yeah, the steering axle is behind the driver. So there's good 3 or 4 feet of bus in front of that you can use to actually aim it directly over where you're trying to stop. Give people a nice step off of your vehicle.
Awesome. And he's headed into the right-hand reverse.
Yeah, this one, you're in your mirror for 99% of these obstacles with these alley docks.
I have a silly question, but I've been meaning to ask. Do the buses have a backup camera?
No, they do not. No backup cameras. One outside mirror on either side. And your skills as an operator from there. Pulling out of this last alley dock, heading to the diminishing clearance barrels. See if he gets up to 20 miles an hour and can keep it straight through. Ooh, yeah, an inch to spare on each side is all they get. That was good through those barrels and a judgment stop.
And Jeff steps off the bus and checking out what he did there with the judgment stop. But still a good run overall, and his first time on the rodeo.
Yeah, very good first effort for a first rodeo. Admiring his work, saying hello to his biggest fan.
So Jeff, how did it go?
During practice was a lot better than today, but I think it was mainly because of everyone staring at you. I hit a little more too many cones that I feel comfortable with, but I made it through it.
What would you say the toughest parts are?
The toughest parts is the serpentine and the tennis balls. You really have to swing it, and if you hit those pivot cones really messes you up. And in the tennis balls, you can't see it until you're already in it. So that's once you're in it and you're good, then you're usually pretty good the rest of the way through. But to me, that's the hardest part of this course.
What would you say to other operators who are thinking about maybe competing in the next one?
Oh, definitely do it. It's fun. Definitely worth it. I think it's great. More people should come and do it. I'm having a good time, and you get to meet everyone from the company that you normally don't see every day.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Headed up is our next competitor. It's Duane Polite from East Liberty, and this is also his first rodeo.
We have a lot of that going on this year. I guess everyone missed out on that 2020 one. They figured they'd do it this year while they can.
And maybe for some of them, this is the first time they've been eligible.
That's true, too. You have to have a certain amount of time in that seat. We have a lot of new operators at this company, and maybe this is their true first attempt at a first rodeo.
And Duane is taking on the first lap, which is the Serpentine.
Stopping, checking his position, pivoting the bus. He's got to set himself up to get through the next set of cones. While he straightens his wheels now, he'll be in good shape. Nicely done through there. Now time to set up for that offset street.
Looking good so far. This is a good vantage point we have there from the drone to see how he's positioning himself to make it through those.
You really can't see. Yep. He might have wanted to exaggerate his turn a little more in his setup to get in there cleaner.
Yeah, a lot of operators found the offset street to be a challenging lap. And here he'll get set up for the tennis balls.
That little guy I think he got with his front wheel.
Got at least one tennis ball there, headed into the right turn.
Let's see how well he flares this. So we call that a flare to the left. Give yourself enough room on the right. So if you're second guessing it. Now to reposition.
And from that standpoint, he only needs to think about whether or not he's within the 7 minutes. So if he wants to, reposition there, certainly free to do that.
Yeah, I believe backing up does cost a point, but I believe the cones cost 2 points. So
you're saving a point possibly by backing up.
True. Into his first curb stop. Measuring his front wheels, 6 inches from the curb.
I think about it in the perspective of parallel parking. I believe you should be within 12 inches of the curb. So 6 inches is extremely close.
Well, you got to use every tool to your advantage. There's windows in that front door for a reason. You can see yourself getting closer and closer to that curb. Then it's a judgment from there where your final position is at. Speaking of final positions, you'll notice these operators, when they do these alley docks, the time when they hit their horn is to let the judges know when they're at their final position and to let the judges know it's safe to go behind the vehicle to measure.
Right, so they're communicating that they're not going to continue backing up.
Right, yeah, they'll set the parking brake by pulling that pin and hit the horn. That means they're in their final position for the judgment.
Now, Duane is our next to last competitor today, so while we have a moment, I'd like to thank all of the staff and volunteers that came out to support the rodeo today. It was a tremendous effort. And not just today, all the preparation in advance and even tearing down and the food as well. There's just a lot that goes into making this event happen. And it looks like he's finished with that reverse and headed on to the next lap.
Yeah, he's got a good setup coming out of there. Just enough room on the left and the right. He's going to flare this turn wide. We haven't seen that out of a lot of these other competitors today. It's a unique approach to this obstacle for this left-hand turn.
And it seems like it's been pretty challenging, so maybe trying something different is a good idea.
Look, he got through there cleanly to me. That was a good idea.
And he might have got the pivot cone, but that's okay. He'll head on to the next lap here, the next curb stop.
Yep, get himself down the runway there, set himself up for this curb stop from the other angle. It's like he's trying to get himself as parallel as he can to the curb before he even gets there.
Is the course the same as it was in 2019? Was it at the same location?
Yep, Castle Shannon Park and Ride. Same location as it was in 19.
In the layout, any significant changes in the course or the rodeo overall?
The layout of the course looks virtually identical. I don't remember if I had to go 20 or 25 miles an hour through those barrels at the time, but that was 4 years ago. I don't remember exactly.
Right.
Other than that, it looks very reminiscent of the last competition I witnessed out here at Castle Shannon Park and Ride.
And there is one big change, and that's that we are Pittsburgh Regional Transit now.
That's another big change too.
And we will see that reflected on the uniforms, especially in all the interviews. But the buses that are in the competition today are branded Port Authority, but that's going to be a slow process to change over the branding of all the buses.
Indeed, yeah. Well, we have a special wrap crew that comes in to wrap with ads or the new name change, branding. So it'll be a process, but they'll all eventually look uniform.
Right, right.
Let's check back with Duane. He's in the second half of his alley dock here. Looks like he's in his final position. Here comes their judge.
And then coming out of this one, it'll be pretty quick.
Yeah, you got to make sure you're pulled all the way out of that alley dock before you start turning. There's that rear kick out illegal that can happen.
Get up to 20 miles an hour and make it through the diminishing clearance.
Good job through there.
I think he cleared that.
Yeah, I believe
Very
he got
nice.
all the barrels, yeah. There's his judgment stop. One final horn.
Volunteers are going to come out and measure the distance to that front cone, and Duane is going to step off the bus.
Good job. Good job.
Great job, Duane. Thanks so much for competing. Our final competitor today is Darius Jones Sr.
Makes his way through the serpentine. Looks like he's pivoting around that pivot cone nicely with his rear duals. Now it's just a matter of straightening out. That is tight through there. Tighter than it looks when you're driving it.
And exiting the serpentine here, too, you're setting yourself up for the offset street.
Yeah, it's a little bit deceiving because they have it. You're starting on the proper side as you're coming out of the serpentine. And then you got to eke your way over to the left without having your bus kick out into one of these or clipping it with your left side as well.
Looks good so far.
Now he's going to have to start watching himself on that right side. That is the hardest side to judge on these buses. So far, so good through the offset street, though.
He did better there than I thought.
Yes, very good job through there. See how his rear dual clearance is for these tennis balls. And then on to the right-hand turn. One flows right into the other.
Aligning himself up there. Probably waiting to see the tennis balls appear in his mirror.
There is a pause there, yeah. Ooh, we got a good close shot of the rear dual clearance there with our judge on the ground doing his job. Making sure not one of those is touched. We can see that mud flap that's been removed from that right rear wheel just for that obstacle.
Well, he did a great job there with the tennis balls and moving into the right turn. Seems pretty clean to me.
One of the things the judges are looking for is you're using your turn signals there. I noticed his four ways are wrong. Might have been a lapse of judgment there, but now he needs them for the curb stop anyways. Looks like he's floating that curb with the right front of his bus as close as he can without hitting it with the tire. The front of the bus can go over the curb, but the tire cannot hit it.
That's one thing not being an operator, I hadn't really thought of. So you were manually turning on and off the four ways when you were at a stop.
Yes, that's how you signal that you're going to be pulling over and stopping. And then when you're done with the stop, your foot's on the turn signal, you kill your four ways and go.
Never thought about that.
Akin to being a school bus driver, they put on those flashing yellow lights as they're approaching their stop. And of course, they have the flashing reds and a stop sign. We do not on our city buses, so, sometimes the traffic and cars can get the wrong idea if you don't set yourself up for success when servicing a stop. That's why those four ways are important. That's all we have.
And Darius setting himself up here for the left-hand reverse.
Yeah, one little pull-up, checking his position. I'll have to cut the wheel hard, back it on straight in there.
Well, with Darius being our final competitor, it seems like the rain is held off. After the rodeo is completed here, while the judges tally the scores, is the little picnic, so everyone will have lunch, and then we will have the announcements of the winners.
Ooh, I can't wait to see who won this year.
And who is going to get that trip to Portland?
Ooh, yeah, all expenses paid vacation. You can't beat that. And bragging rights for the national championship.
And now setting himself up for the left turn.
I see he's got his left turn signal on. Indicate he's going to turn the bus to the left. That's good. Judges will be looking for that for sure.
Well, he might have got the inside cone there, but he definitely made it through that lap quickly.
Yeah, if indeed he did, that's unfortunate. That cone counts more points than the others.
That's an interesting perspective for maybe how to navigate it. Like if you really feel like you might not make it through the obstacle, do think about it enough that you're choosing which cones you might hit because they could be worth more or less points.
Yep, got to weigh your options.
Looks like the volunteers are starting to wrap up here as well, with it being our final competitor today. And everyone probably wants a hamburger.
I'm sure everyone's ready to eat after this long day of judging these fine operators do this course. One final alley dock for Darius Jones. This is the more difficult of the two, in my opinion. He'll check himself and pull up, it looks like. One difference this year as compared to 2019, I don't believe they're going to do any fun runs for management due to the weather incoming.
And coming out of that right-hand reverse into the diminishing clearance.
Yeah, we are one judgment stop away from completing the 2023 PRT Bus Rodeo.
So Darius, tell us how you feel it went.
I feel like I could do a lot better. I'm pretty hard on myself. I hit too many cones on left-hand turn. Could have did a lot better on that. I'm upset I hit a barrel. Through practice, it wasn't hitting any. It's probably because I overcompensated and straightened myself out in this one and getting the speed right, so I didn't do it correctly. Everything else, I'm pretty confident that I do well. I could have did a lot better tonight, a lot better. The tennis balls is probably the most challenging here because you can't see them for a while, and you tend to overcompensate with your outside duels for your inside. As long as you're cool on your outside of your duels, you're fine. The hardest part here, this course is left-hand turn. I don't think I've seen anybody hit it correctly this whole time, and it's not set up for you. I just hit the cones, call it a day. And getting the dimension clearance at the speed is more than anything else, especially coming out of your right-hand backup. If you're not thinking about the speed, you're thinking about just getting through it. If you're not fast enough, you don't get any points. And that's pretty much it.
Was that your first time doing it?
First time Port Authority, but I've been doing school bus rodeos for a while. I've been doing them every year for the last 13 years. Well, I love bus driving foremost, and I love competition. And to put your skills to the test rather than just be in the street, to actually have ways to do it with the backups, with the right-hand turns, is to put the proof to the pudding, honestly. To see if you actually have the skills rather than just be in the streets and show it here and doing a competition setting. And that's what I like about it a lot. It's fun. Hardware doesn't lie. And if you come in first place here, you can run with that for a year. And nobody can say that they're better than you. If they feel they're better than you, they can come in and see and do it here.
Let's check in with our CEO, Catherine Kellerman, at the awards ceremony.
Thank you for joining us for the rodeo, first one since the pandemic. Thank you for coming out.
In third place with 609 points from the Collier Garage, it's Jeff Rectenwald.
Thank you. Yay. All right, Jeff.
In second place from East Liberty, it's Michael Gerken.
Thank you.
And in first place, the winner of the 2023 Pittsburgh Regional Transit Bus Rodeo from the Ross Garage, it's Nija Avery.
So Avery and a family member of his choosing, I'm not judging, he can pick whoever, are going to be coming with us to Portland next year to compete in the International Bus Roadeo. An all-expenses paid trip to Portland, Oregon, and bragging rights for another year.
It was a good event, it was a good showing, and hopefully we could grow it, because like I said, it was for the operators, just to get out here and showcase what you could do, get together, have a good time. Thanks, everybody.
Congratulations, Nija. Good luck in Portland, and thanks for watching.